Gina there? Yeah, perfect. Thanks so much.
Good morning, dear friends. Here we are again for another beautiful Sunday. Some places are warm, some places are really cold, but this is our little planet. I appreciate that very much. So here we are for another beautiful moment where we get together, united in our movement towards improving ourselves. And here we are at Bezerra Spiritist Healing Center for our Sunday service. So I would like to invite our brother Tony Torres to lead us on the opening prayer.
So I'll close our eyes. And give thanks to wherever we're at, whether it's cold. We always have the warmth of Jesus and God. We want to give thanks for this beautiful Sunday morning that we have to gather together, to rejoice and to remember, to reflect, and to learn. All the beautiful lessons are going to be coming through for us today. And how I'm always reminded that we take these lessons to our hearts and use them through our feet so that we can continue to grow, to learn, to understand. I want to thank all the beautiful spirits that are here to guide today for this lesson, for us to learn. And to give thanks for our connection to be wherever we're at in this world today, and for us to gather here to learn. And it's with great love that I ask that we open today's session. So be it.
Thank you, dear Tony. Appreciate that very much. So, Bezerra Spiritist Center is a non-denominational house of prayer and devotion. And we study the teachings of Spiritism as postulated by our brother Allan Kardec. And from those teachings, we establish a connection with our spirituality with respect to all walks of life, all different religions, because we understand that our Creator is a universal creator, and we are in our evolutionary process, and we connect with that source of power and love. So, uh, we want to uh, invite you to visit our website, Bezerra Spiritist Center, so you can have an idea about the services that we provide on a daily basis. We have, let me see I don't have my PowerPoint ready for presentation, but every day of the week, we have what we call our daily prayer at 6 p.m. No matter where we are, if you tune in at our website, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we join together for prayer for not only those that are listed in our healing request books, spiritual and physical, but we join with our energy to this global movement that to join all the energies that are at a level of planetary movement so we can pray for our brothers and sisters everywhere. So please visit our website, and that will assist us on what we do. But today we have a very special event where we have our sister Flavia. Let me see. Yeah, Flavia Lemes, a Brazilian native Flavia has been living with her family in the San Francisco Bay Area for over 20 years. Wow, congratulations, Flavia.
Thank
As
you.
a self as a self-describer described soul searcher, she started.
You're muted, actually, Charles. We can't hear you.
You accidentally hit mute.
You haven't heard anything that I said?
We heard until you said I've been in the US for 20 years.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, thank you. Well, my phone dropped and of course disconnected my sound. So Flavia, a Brazilian native, has been living for 20 years, as is mentioned, as self-described soul searcher. She started her spiritual journey at a very young age by joining youth programs at local churches back in Brazil. But her real awakening, as she calls it, happened in 2018 when she faced the possible loss of her father and decided to follow her heart's calling and desire to deepen her understanding of spirituality. What a great choice. Through her own research, books, workshops, and spiritual practice, and by exposing herself to various doctrines, Flavia has found answers to many of her questions within the Spiritist Society's teachings, and currently presents spiritual talks at the Chico Xavier Spiritist Society in California. Flavia holds a master's in science in organization development and has recently received a Reiki Level 2 certificate. Well, without further ado, I appreciate everyone being present, and let's tune in and hear Flavia's message for us today. Enjoy it.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Charles, for the nice, warm introduction. And thank you, everyone, for having me here. I really appreciate, just receiving this request, and this connection from Tanya it really was dear to my heart. And for some of you that don't know me, the way I do my talks is it usually starts with my own questions for myself. What am I going through in my life? What do I need now? And I realize that sometimes I don't have answers, and I go look for answers. And when I talk to people, I end up just meeting a lot of people that is like, oh my gosh, I would love to learn about that. I'm going through the same questions. It's just really fascinating how life, connects us to the people who are going through similar phases as us. And so when Tanya connected with me, I had just given a talk at the Chico Xavier Spiritist Society about the new year, right? How do we start the new year? And I mentioned to her, and she said, that's perfect. Actually, it's a great timing for us as well. So I kind of made some changes just based on what I've learned actually in my initial talk too. And I hope this message actually reaches your hearts. And what I wanted to talk about, and this is again in my own process, I started the year thinking about, how do I want to start my year? Right. And I don't know about you guys, and please, this is I want this section to be as it's not just informative. If you guys have any comments, please reach out, please make comments. I really want this to be interactive. I am also learning as I'm talking to you guys, so please, I would love any interactions. And thoughts, even if you disagree with me, say, Flavia, have you thought about that? I would love that. I love interaction. I love learning. So what I was thinking was in terms of my own process, right? I usually start the year, and I don't know about you guys, but I usually start the year with that conversation of, yeah, new year, new me, new year, new beginning. What am I gonna do? I'm gonna change this. I'm gonna do that, right? And oftentimes I start with a list. And here's an interesting thing. I do start the year with a list of things that I want to happen in the year. And I end up creating the list and putting it in my Bible. So what I realized this year is, as I was opening my Bible, and I don't read the Bible that often, but when I opened it just to add another resolution list, I realized that I had a list there that was almost 20 years old. So it was from, I think, the second year that I was living in the US. And when I looked at what was on that list, I realized that most of the things were also on my list for 2024. And as I was looking at that, I was like, whoa, hold on. There's something wrong here, right? If I'm having the same things, it tells me that I'm not really achieving what I'm telling myself I want to achieve. Why is that? And most of the resolutions, they were very similar to what we hear almost everyone saying. Oh yeah, this year I want to read more, I want to sleep more, or I want to lose XYZ pounds this year, right? Or I want to travel. But what happened was I just really, I was curious about it, because in my case, I was curious, why am I not accomplishing this? What's happening? And being the curious self that I was, I decided to do some search just on the science behind of goal setting. And bear with me, I'm going to go back to the spiritism and how this all gets together, right? So what I found out is that about 23% of people who actually end up setting goals for the new year, they end up quitting those goals in the first week. And why is that? And I was reflecting on that for myself. Why is that? And in my case, I realized that I set up really high goals and expectations. And that was my problem, right? So what was the solution for that is, instead of going with these big, crazy goals, why not set up smaller goals, right? That will help me stay on track. And that's going to help me also in achieving the solutions that I want, right? Then I ran into another data that for me was really interesting. And they were saying, again, adding up to the quitting aspect of it, 43% of people who start the year with goals, this study was from 2016, it tells us that people quit at the end of January. So again, why is that? And the majority of the reasons why people are doing that is because they're lacking the planning. And for me, this is, I don't know about you guys, but for me, this is really important data. Why is that? Because in my professional life, we talk about goals all the time. We are always setting up goals. And by the end of the year, you actually have to report on those goals, right? So I was questioning, how come I'm able to do that in my professional life? And how come I'm not doing that in my personal life, right? But then there was this one set of data that for me was really interesting. It said that 50% of the people who actually share their resolutions or their goals with people around them, they end up achieving those goals. And I said, that's a good one. For me, it resonated really well. At work, in my case, we have to publish those goals that we have for the year, and we have to be accountable for the goals that we set. But I wasn't doing that in my personal life. So that was just in this part, I said, okay, two things I'm learning. One, establish smaller achievable goals, right? And the second one, let me share those goals with the people that I love and with the people around me so I can be accountable for them. But then it goes beyond setting goals, right? You can, as the wise Anthony Saint-Exupéry mentioned, a goal without a plan, it's just a wish. So how do you set a plan? Same thing as work, right? You have to have a plan that aligns with your goals so you can achieve step by step on the process. And then you can drive actions, right? Because the actions that you are going to have to drive to achieve those goals, they're the ones that are going to help you be successful, right? On anything that you take in life. It's all about daily actions. But as I was thinking about that, I said, okay, great. This aligns perfectly well. I mean, I know this, like with my eyes closed on a professional perspective, right? But what about in my personal life? How am I doing that? How am I applying these lessons in a way where I feel I'm connected to myself, in a way that I'm feeling that I'm connected to my spirituality, right? And I started doing some more reading with spiritism books around how can we drive these actions. And I came through this passage in Inner Enlightenment that for me, it just came in, and I sat with it for, I kid you not, for a week, just really thinking about it. Where it says that actions, they are the reflection of our interior life. And I kept thinking about that because oftentimes we end up acting in ways that we question, wait, where did that come from? Or sometimes we don't even question, right? But what resonated to me is that when we have that understanding that our actions are reflections of our interior life, we end up understanding that we can modify them. We can transform them, right? And why is that? It's because we can work through that. We can work in our spirit. Our body is just here to follow through what our spirit is bringing. So I can set many goals, and I can even set the actions that are going to drive those goals. But if I'm not having that ability to reflect on my actions, if I'm not having that ability to really think through and nourish my soul with information that are going to drive better actions, I'm going to get to be stuck in that same loop that I was for 20 years in those resolutions list, right? So with that, it came also like the understanding that habits being part of our daily lives, we have to make choices, and we can make choices. It's all about the choices we make. And some of them, they're going to drive us to make healthier choices, which will drive healthier habits and also will result in a happier life and a more fulfilling life. But it's all about that daily practice of what am I going to do today where I'm going to be more thoughtful, or I'm going to be more mindful of what I'm putting into my body, both like through food or through information I read or through things that I listen to, right? And that's what's going to fulfill, and that's what's going to be nourishing my spirit, and it's going to drive the actions that I want. So it's all about us starting our year, instead of just being focused on the physical aspect of this is the list that I want to accomplish this year. It's more about you looking at the list, but in a more holistic way, and being more reflective on what are the real actions that I want to drive this year? What are the real habits that I want to develop this year? And what are the healthy ones, right? And it was interesting because it really comes up to all of us to make those choices, because when we develop healthier mental habits, right, we can transform our actions. And not only our actions, we transform the world around us. Because our actions, they do transform, they do have that power to transform the world around us. They do have the power to transform our environment, right? It's all about the energy we put into the world. It's all about the way we react to things. And when we are constantly developing these healthy habits, right? There are many ways we can do that, and we can talk more about it in the presentation later. But when we are nourishing our minds and nourishing our spirit with some positive information, right? Then we are enriching our hearts. And not only that, when I thought about it, I said, this is amazing. It's not just really about enriching our hearts. It's not really just about enriching or having better reactions, right? As the book Action and Reaction also talks about, every action has a reaction, right? But it's about also enriching our words. We talk so much about habits, actions, but we also forget the power that our words have. Our words, they can build or destroy people, right? So when we are enlightening ourselves with positive, rich, and really uplifting information, we are in a way transforming the way we interact with the world. We are transforming the way we actually interact with ourselves, but also that reflects in the world we live in. Any questions or comments so far? I'm seeing everyone is really quiet. I'm just gonna pause here for a minute. Are we good? Okay, I got a good here. And then I came through this passage by Joanna, where she says that the conscious being, they must always work on themselves, starting from a realistic psychological point by accepting themselves as they are, but incessantly improving themselves. I love this, this notion by Joanna, because we talk so much. I'll give you guys a little bit of information about myself and what I do at work, because you must be asking, what does she do, right? So part of what I do at work is I look for inefficiencies in our business. So I'm constantly looking at what's not working, right? So we can find ways to mitigate and to improve those processes or systems, whatever we can do to improve and have better results. But what I like about this is that it starts not from the outside. You're looking inside. And when you look inside, unfortunately, we have this initial critical reaction. And we just look at things just really trying to point a finger and saying, oh, yeah, that's not working. But what I see behind this message here is when you talk about acceptance, when you accept things as they are, when you accept yourself as you are, where you are, instead of you pointing a finger, you're actually looking at yourself with kindness, right? You're looking at the areas within yourself that needs care, that needs attention, that actually, or areas that you're like, well, this may need attention, but I don't want to work on this right now. I see these other areas as priorities, right? Then you can actually start making those choices. Then you can start creating those actions, taking those steps to change your habits and to create that positive life that you want, or to drive the positive changes that you want. And thinking about that, I was thinking about the integral being, or a conscious being, right? We as humans, we have a few pillars that hold us together. And as I was thinking about that, I said, okay, well, what's the best way to think about that? And I've spoken to different people. I've watched a few talks about it. And it's interesting because I'm a very visual person. I have to see things and how they look, and then I can process my thoughts. And for me, it was it looked almost like a stool. I spoke to some people where they said, well, I look at it as almost like a pie chart. Other people looked at it as a pizza. They're like, oh yeah, we are all like all of these pieces and it all forms a big round pizza for me. But for me, when I was thinking about what are the pillars that make an integral being, it came down to being these 4 pillars. I couldn't break down in the graphics here, so bear with me. So one is physical, when we are thinking about ourselves. The second one is mental. Then we have the emotional, and then we have the spiritual. But as I was thinking about this, I actually came across this really interesting talk by Maíse Braga. I don't know if you guys know her. She's a Brazilian philosopher, but she does an amazing job in bringing philosophy and connecting philosophy with spiritism. And she has this talk just really talking about this connection of the human being integral and really always standing for these pillars that keep us functioning all together. And it was a really fascinating talk. But basically what we were talking here is that in order for us to function in a way where we are aligned with ourselves and that we are being conscious about our actions, we have to have these pillars, right, balanced. And oftentimes we don't. And as I was thinking about creating goals for the year, what I realized is that my list was mostly focused on the physical pillar. No wonder I was not achieving it, because in order for me to have a well-balanced life, I needed to have all of these pillars that are important to me functioning together. Think about, again, the stool, right? If one of these legs of the stool are broken, the stool is not going to stay up. And so based on that, I started thinking, okay, so what do I really need to think about it? And I was thinking, okay, let me go through what can I do in a physical world or in my physical pillar? What can I do to build it? So I will feel like I'm being accomplished. And there are many things that we can do, right? From a physical aspect, you can exercise, you can eat a better diet, or you can sleep a few hours at night. But for me, these were items that were really important. Okay, this is what I want to focus on this year. But going back to our first lesson, instead of creating like these crazy goals, let's start with smaller goals, like exercising. Instead of just saying, oh, I need to exercise 6 days a week, why don't I create a smaller step-by-step guide? I'll start with 2 days a week, and then I'll build it to 3 next month, and then to 4 the other month. And then that way I'll keep building my steps. Same thing with the other goals, right? And then talking about emotional and mental, right? For me, this was another aspect that was really missing from my previous goals, which was fascinating. All of my goals were really focused on the physical world. But when I was thinking about myself as an integral being, I do need to have goals for my mental and emotional being. And what can that be? And there are many examples, right? It could be meditation. It could be learning a new skill. For me, that's extremely important. I do like learning new skills. It could be building and just continuing that sense of community with a support system. It could be writing a journal. Every one of us can and should also think about those aspects of ourselves. And then the final one in my stool was the spiritual, where it was completely missing from my past goals. from when I was starting the year thinking, okay, what do I want to do this year? And this year I decided, because I realized that, I decided to change it. And here's the fascinating thing. I decided to change it around and focus on the spiritual this year. And what did I realize that was missing for me was creating this list of what are the things that I really want to achieve this year in my spiritual life. I do want to do more charitable work. How can I do that? Right? Think about the same way that I think work-wise. What do I need to do to achieve these and this and that goal? Why can't I do that for my spiritual practice? Right? What can I do? I do want to do more volunteering work this year. It's something that's really important to me. But then what do I need to do to identify those groups that I want to connect with? What are the steps that I need to do? And then going back to, and I started doing this for my own goals. In the meantime, I came across that talk that I was mentioning to you by Maíse Braga, and she said something, and I had just finished my own list for spiritual goals for this year. And she said something in her talk that for me was fascinating, and it really changed how I see how we set up our goals and how we can make this a spiritual practice more than anything else. She said something within the lines of, and I'm not quoting her, this is really my interpretation of what she said, but she was saying, look, think about us as a stool, right? In one leg you have the physical, and the other leg you have the mental, the other one you have the emotional. But when one of these legs break, the stool is not stable. So think about it, you're putting like a vase of flowers on top of that stool. And if any of these legs break, the stool is gonna fall, and so the flowers are gone, right? And then she invites us to think about the spiritual aspect of us always being up here, pulling, and I wish I could find a visual. I tried finding a visual to show you what she was meaning. But if we focus on the spiritual aspect of life, it's always pulling us up from here, which means we can break all the other legs. And you can name your own legs for your stool, right? Every one of us have different things that are important to us. But if your spiritual focus is always, if your spiritual practice, if you're always focused on developing yourself spiritually and connecting with God, in keeping your faith strong, in connecting with others, right? It doesn't matter what happened with the other tools, with the other legs, sorry. It doesn't happen. It doesn't matter, because you're going to be wiggly, but you're going to be uplifted by your faith. You're going to be uplifted by the strength that your belief in God gives you. And that, to me, totally changed the way I saw my own year, the way I started thinking about my year. What do I want to achieve this year? All the things that are physical, right? Yeah, of course, we need a healthy body to act, right? Or to do the things we want to do, even in a spiritual practice. But that's not the sole focus. I do need a strong mental well-being so I can so I can have a healthy mind, right? Or so I can perform at work, because at the end of the day, work and profession is highly important for me too. But that's not all. That's not my sole focus. And I also need to be in charge of my emotions. I need to be connected with my emotions. But that itself is also not the sole focus. When I have this strong belief and faith, then everything else, when work doesn't go well, or when health doesn't go well, or when something happens that, my emotions, I'm kind of like, I'm not feeling good. If I have faith, I'm still going, because I know at the end, everything is going to happen. Everything is going to be fine. And that God is there to support me all the way through it. So, and then finally, based on that, I just wanted to based on my experience, I just wanted to give you like some quick steps that I've learned in my own process that can help us, right, in creating like these plans for us to starting the year more focused on our spiritual growth, on our spiritual being. When we think about starting the year, when we think about setting up goals for us to grow and to learn, let's just really start looking at it holistically. Let's look at all the aspects that are important to us within, those pillars that are important to us. As I mentioned, every one of us have different pillars. But let's focus on the spiritual aspect of it, right? Let's think of ways that we are contributing to the community. Let's think of ways that we are connecting with others and that we are really helping others. How important it is for us to not just learn in our journey, but also to share that message with others, to be part of their process. It is fascinating, as I mentioned earlier, when we are nourishing our souls, when we are nourishing our minds with positive, uplifting words, it is amazing how our words end up also motivating and helping others. So let's be mindful of that. Let's be mindful of how we can help others, and not just through, let's think of ways of being part of their growth too. And it can be with just a smile.
I think we lost her signal. Well, let's give her a second to return, if she will. But let's open up for any comments or anybody that would like to pick up on what she left or want to add to it. The floor is open. Anyone?
I like when she said about the commitment, no? It's a new year. Before we were talking about the commitment, the responsibilities to us to embrace as a community, no? I'm talking not individually, but as a community. When we are here in this community, we need to see what is the purpose to be here together in the BSH Center community. This is our spiritual community. When we love one another, we embrace one another, we pray for one another. I was saying, Dr. Paulo, the mentors of the group, the spiritual mentors, they care about us. They are here to help us to fulfill our spiritual growth too. Our individual mentors are here to helping us to fulfill our spiritual growth, individual growth, and in the community. Because in the grace, I was saying, God has blessed us with Lord Jesus. Okay, you came back. Yeah.
Yeah, we're just commenting on what you started, and just listen for a little bit. But finish, Tanya, please.
Oh, I'm so sorry about that. I don't know what happened.
Don't be there. It was very opportune. No problem. So, Tanya, you were saying?
Yeah, I will say, Lord already blessed us with the grace of the presence of our Lord Jesus and his example, his teaching. Like he summarized the teachings, no, the commandments, and then was in the simple way. I have a part when Jesus said, Moses make a snake stand up on the desert, but through me, you're going to heaven. You're seeing another world, no? And
There you
he
go.
was talking about the heavenly things. So we need to get in these teachings of Flavia to apply to our daily. What I was talking, Flavia, till you come back. We need to come bringing this back, not just as the individual, but as a community. It's very important. And how blessed we are to have a community, to join, to participate, to count with one another through the spiritual growth. Because without that, we cannot go anywhere. We will come back and come back and come back so many times.
Well, thank you, Tanya. If you don't mind, Flavia, would you like to continue? And then we come back for open comments for everybody.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
That'll be great. And I'm almost done with the presentation. But I completely agree with what you were saying. I missed part of it, Tanya, but it is very important that when we are mindful of our thoughts and our actions, and when we are focused on our connection with others, right, then we do follow Jesus' guidance. We do follow his examples in our daily practices. And that's where we need to focus on, right? I think we focus, like me, like for 20 plus years, I was just focusing on the physical aspect of it until I had this aha moment, right? And where I was looking back and being like, wait a second, that's the wrong. I'm looking at this wrongfully, right? I'm not really focusing on the things that I need to. And just really wrapping up, I just really wanted to give you like some guidance on ways and simple steps that we can do to achieve that. Even
When I
with,
use your PowerPoint,
I'm sorry. Oh, you guys are not seeing
yeah, we don't have the shared PowerPoint.
it.
But if you need it,
I'll share it. I thought I did. There you go. You guys should see it.
thank you.
Of course. So just really like small, achievable, simple steps that we can take, right? You just need to think about it that way. And the other way to make ourselves accountable is really tracking our progress, asking for help. The same way that is really important for us in our spiritual practice to be giving help and helping others in the process, it's also important for us to have that ability to ask for help. We end up putting a lot of pressure on ourselves to do, and we forget that sometimes we need to be held too. And it's okay to ask for help. It's actually a great lesson for all of us, right? It's a great opportunity for us to ask someone for support. Hey, I don't know what to do with this. And it's amazing. It is, to me, in my experience, it's amazing how many people end up opening the doors the moment you ask for that support or for that help or for that clarity, right? And the other thing that I just wanted to remind us is to be gentle with ourselves in our practices. That was more of a lesson for myself as I'm developing my own spiritual practice, as I'm learning, and I'm learning more and more every day, right? Instead of, for me, I have a tendency of being hard with myself. Instead of being hard with myself of, oh, but there are all of these books that I should know about, that I should read, I'm reminding myself of being kind to myself and showing myself and reminding myself of the progress I've done so far, right? And if I miss something, like, so for instance, I have this goal now that instead of reading 2 books a month, I'm like, no, I'm going to read X amount of pages because, to me, it's an easier goal. If I miss it one day because I end up having to focus more at work or because I have something else to do, then it's okay. It is okay. As long as I'm keeping track of that and I'm holding myself empathetically, reminding myself it's okay, I'm still moving forward, right? And most importantly, celebrate everything that we do. One person that we help in a shelter, one person that we talk with on the street, one homeless in California. I don't know for some of you, but in the area I'm at, we have a lot of homeless right now. One person that I can give a meal to is an achievement that I see that needs to be celebrated, because I don't give to them just for the giving piece of it. I give with them with all the love that's in my heart, and I'm always giving them words of encouragement. And I do celebrate that. I do. I've learned how to celebrate that. I've learned how to celebrate a book that I finished reading. I've learned to celebrate a company that I'm working with and that I help them achieve a goal. I'm celebrating every step of it, because that's what's going to keep us going and moving forward. And before the last thing that I want to leave with you guys is a message by Joanna. And I don't know if you've read this one, but I love this message. When I came through it, I said, oh, this is just really wrapping everything that's in my mind and in my heart at the moment. It says, loving yourself is a way to improve yourself in spirit, emotions, and physical self. Without any contempt for any component of the harmonious set that you are, love yourself with tenacity to surpass yourself more every day, establishing new guidelines and promising goals that you will achieve, being generous, active, and persevering in the good. And the reason I love this message is because it talks a lot about improving yourself and working in yourself. But as I said in the beginning of this conversation, when you're improving yourself, your actions, you're changing yourself here, deep inside of yourself, and your actions are going to reflect that change. Your words are going to reflect that change. And when you're loving yourself with that level of empathy and compassion, and you have that understanding that you're loving yourself in your dark moments, but that you're constantly working to grow, you're also, in a way, bringing that love to others. You're bringing that compassion to others through your understanding of them, where they are, and through your helping them to get to where they want to get. So that was my message. I'm sorry for the for the little shafu before for being dropped off, but I appreciate everyone listening, and I would love any comments, thoughts, questions, challenges. I would love anything.
Flavia, no reason to excuse yourself. Things like this happen. We deal with that almost every week. But anyway, it's part of our learning process. I really appreciate you. It's very opportune, your message today, because we all caught in that same cycle, right? Especially when it comes to New Year's resolution. Who does still plan to have year's resolution? I gave up that many years ago. I don't even set up goals anymore. Because you were very generous to say that 23% only quits in the first week. What about those of us that don't even try? Right? Don't even set anything. But I do understand the message, and it's an invitation. I take that very personal because uh, as any other human beings, I struggle with improving myself, and that's why we engage in this process of inner reform, and that's exactly what you addressed today. I appreciate that, and I would like to open the floor for any other comments or any questions for Flavia. Let's take advantage of her while she's here.
Thank you.
Hey, Flavia, this is Tina. I really enjoyed
Oh, you're
the
mute.
part that was a reminder to that the three pillars, the body, mind, spirit. And it reminded me of a dance performance I watched one time where there were a lot of different characters in the dance, but the three main characters were the body, mind, and spirit dancing together. And there's a beautiful they were synchronous, they were moving all together. And then there were times when one of them would spin off and be disturbed by the other dancers or things that were on the stage. And the other two were over there still in communication with one another. But it was all about that flow between the three parts. and how sometimes they're working together and sometimes they're not. And I'd like to think of that dance a lot when I think about those three parts, because it also reminded me that there's another piece of us who is aware of all three parts and who can be the harmonizer for when we spin off in those directions that destroy the way we can be integrated. And so thank you very much for that reminder that I have that space of being the harmonizer of those parts.
I love
Thank you.
that. I love that. Ooh, now I'm thinking of it as a dance, because life is a dance. Right? And it's interesting you say that, because there's this book that I love and I apply it a lot at work. It's called The Dance of Change. And even though it's a business book, I read it from a spiritual sense. Every time I'm referring to it at work, I'm like, but that's life. We are in constant change. No second is like the same, right? No second of our life is like the same one we had. And what I think is interesting about the point you're mentioning is going back to the example. If we put the spiritual self as that higher self of us that is harmonizing the other aspects of our lives, and if we focus on that, and that was my learning, then we can have a more harmonious life, because we know at the end that we do have an Almighty that's always, with us, that's always guiding us, because that spiritual self is guided by the Almighty, right? I love that analogy of the dance. I'm going to be thinking about it for some time. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Very good, Tina. That was awesome. I'm a reminder of that as well. And the image that I have is also of a plant holder. The typical is just like a three strings that holds a planter. So yeah, that's actually that every plant in our planet, or every mountain in our planet, is all moving towards that one point, that direction. So to me, that's very spiritual perspective. But anyways, appreciate that. Anybody else? Come on.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I wanted to thank you very much for this presentation. That was really good, and that you ask between your speak that if anybody has a comment and a question and nobody has that, and that means that you answered our question. And when you say we should listen or read a book, gospel or uplifting books, that is you, that you have your own experience. So right now there are so many books with nice titles, but when you open that, they have no experience by themselves. They got it from the other books, from the other author, and you don't get anything in your heart that you can practice that. And I'm thankful to listen to your presentation and got many experience from your experience, from what you have done, and you have seen the result of that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your words. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. I do it with heart. It's my intention to always bring my experience and hope that my experience help others. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, just a reminder that this video is going to be available in our website, BSH website. So for reviews, because sometimes we need to listen, watch it again and over again so we can get it down. But Flavia, we really appreciate your presentation. It's a pleasure to have you here amongst us, and feel free to come back at any point or whenever you have another inspired thing to share with us. We'll be here.
Thank you so much for having me. I deeply appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. If no one else have any questions, or well, we're going to take our. What time is it right now? I think it's 12 o'clock. So we'll be back in about 3 minutes, 12:05 for our second part, which is the healing session of this service. So thank you, Flavia, again, and everyone. Go get your glass of water and be ready for a little meditation healing. See you soon.
Thank you, Flavia, so much, so much.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
it is so amazing because for Charles it's 12, for you guys it's 11, for me it's 2 o'clock. And how about you, Nora?
It's 1 o'clock for us.
Well, see, amazing, no? Yeah,
Thank
very nice. Thanks so much, Flav. It was very inspirational. Very
But
inspirational.
you know our point of reference is the sun. So the
Yeah.
sun is our third point. Is our
Yeah,
reference.
it's true. It's true.
Thank you, guys. I'm going to drop off because I have a dog that's been like knocking on the door, like, get me out of here.
I
Thank you,
appreciate. Come
Flavia.
back more often, please.
Oh, I
Thank you.
will.
Thank you,
Just call me
Flavia.
and Thank you. Have a good
Thank
Sunday.
you. Bye.